But why we're on here today is because we want all of you to be healthy, and Rosemary and I are going to give you guys all tips for how to take the products correctly in different conditions. Like I went to her and asked her one day, remember, Rosemary, I called you up and said, I have floaters in my eyes. How do I use the drops in my eyes? And, you know, I mean, there's so many different ways to use the drops. You can use them on skin problems on your body. I had like a thing on my face here. I actually had like a little cluster of these milia things, or like little white weird looking things, and I put zeolite drop on there every day, like at least once a day, sometimes twice a day, and it went away. So you can try it on pimples. If you know people who have acne, I had a pimple on my chin because I tend to get pimples on my chin, and I put it on there and it just dried it up and it went away. So there's a lot of uses for these products. And so that's why Rosemary and I called this conference together, so that you all can learn how to use it, when to use it, why to use it, and you can ask us any questions that you have. And then there's also the Immunity mushrooms, and then the pain relief product. There's all these other products that we can talk about. So Rosemary, do you want to kind of take it from here? And
yes, and thank you and welcome everyone. It's really nice to put faces with names. I appreciate that. And Grace, I'm impressed that you're up. Just wanted to say that. So Kimberly does call me out of the blue quite a bit. What do I do for this? This is happening. What do I do? And so I'm kind of the resource in her pocket when that happens, and I'm in your pocket too. I just wanted to let you know that you can reach out to me anytime. Email is usually the best to get started, and then we can schedule a conversation if we need something more in depth. And I'm happy to do that, because you're not going to get those directions on a bottle. You're not going to get it off a store shelf. You're not going to get it in a book. It's just not going to happen. What you will see in books is the need to detox. So I could probably list for you dozens of books where they talk about detox. You really have to do that. Most authors don't know about this method of detox. They wish they did. They wish they had this method because it's the safest and it's the fastest. So I want to talk about eyes first, since Kimberly mentioned eyes. One of the cool things you can know about Cell Defender is that it is able to be used topically as well as internally. Now, internally, it says on the bottle, 10 drops twice a day in water. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to worry about taking too much. You cannot take too much of this. It is impossible. You could drink a whole bottle. It wouldn't hurt you. I don't recommend that because your body can't possibly use all of that at one time. So the best way to use this internally is to take fewer drops more often. Really, that's the key to success with any serious condition that you're concerned about, you're trying to get ahead of. Fewer drops more often. Now, for some people, fewer drops means one drop, and that's okay. One drop is probably not enough to make a difference, but it's enough to let you know that it's not going to hurt you. I work with a lot of very sensitive people, and I hear all the time, not just from Kimberly, but I hear all the time how sensitive people are. And you are, because, and we all are, because we are up to here, you know, beyond our eyeballs with toxins. And when that happens, anything can trigger an emotion, a feeling, a response in your body that puts you in a fear mode of, oh no, this is going to hurt me. Well, let me help you rest assured that this will not hurt you. It's impossible to hurt you. It doesn't add anything to your body. It will only take out. What does it take out? It takes out what is attracted into the cage. So heavy metals, mercury, cadmium, lead, arsenic, aluminum, bismuth, barium, uranium, you know, strontium, cesium, all the radioactive stuff. It will take that out first. Now, for the people in Ohio who are really worried about the disaster that's going on right now with the dioxins going into the atmosphere. Wow. You know what the experts are saying to them? The experts are saying, well, dioxins do break down. No, no, no. The Environmental Protection Agency says they don't break down. They are POPs, persistent in your environment. They don't break down. It would take decades.
100 years, I heard.
Yeah.
And I heard this is basically Chernobyl #2.
Well, Chernobyl, of course, is radioactive, cesium and strontium. And what did people do for that era, for that accident?
Iodine.
Was they dumped metric tons, more than 5 metric tons of zeolite onto the affected area in the environment. They were baking zeolite into biscuits and giving them to the children. They were feeding it to the animals. They were giving it to the people because zeolite works for radioactive material.
And iodine.
What we have our hands on here is something that is so clean and so pure and so tiny that it is way more effective. You wouldn't need to eat any tablespoons of anything or biscuits of anything. You just need a few drops often throughout the day. So how often is often? Wow, depends on the situation. I've worked with people and animals where they need 5 drops every 15 minutes.
Wow.
That's not too much for them. 5 drops every 15 minutes to keep them from checking out overnight. Yeah, that's a possibility for some that you are really worried about. Maybe they're hooked up to a machine that is cleaning their blood for them, right? And I heard Marcy put this so succinctly the other day in a little recording. She said, this is like millions of little kidneys going through your blood.
Wow.
What does the kidney do? The kidney
Filters
the blood. It's a
the filter.
filter for the blood, right? It's
Mhm.
located, the 2 kidneys are located in the lower middle part of your back. And
Mhm.
when those get clogged and so full that they can't work anymore, then you don't have a filter for your blood. And so some people like that are hooked up to a machine that takes hours for them to get their blood clean. And actually the first time the blood goes through the machine, it's clean, but there's still more to be cleaned, right? So this acts like millions of little kidneys in your blood. It will clean. Isn't that a
Never thought of that before.
It's amazing to think of it that way. It will clean your blood. So it'll go through your blood, through your kidneys, and then it will dump into your bladder and it's not working for you. After a few minutes, it's not working for you anymore. It's done. It's gone through your system. It's done. Thank you very much. Now the next drops come, and then the next drops, and then the next drops. So you can use it internally, which I highly recommend, and topically. Now, I mentioned eyes 5 minutes ago, eyes. What some people do for their eyes is they'll let the bottle sit for a while. And if you notice, if you look at what happens in the bottle, there's a collection of the zeolite particles at the bottom, and then all of this is mostly water here. Those are the only ingredients in here. There's nothing added to this to keep the zeolite in suspension, nothing. But the particles are so tiny that just a tiny little movement of the bottle will get those particles in suspension again. So for your eyes, what some people like to do is they very carefully unscrew the cap so they're not disturbing the bottle too much, and they'll take a little bit of water off the top and use that in their eyes, 1 drop in each eye. Now, what will that do for you? Well, Kimberly asked about floaters, and that's how I instructed her to try it for her eyes. And eyes are also a direct connection to the brain. Do you have anything going on in your brain that you're concerned about? If so, you might want to put the drops in your eyes. Doesn't that make sense? A direct connection to your brain. The other way to get directly into your brain is into your sinuses or to hold it in your mouth for a while.
Under your tongue. That's what I did before I came on this broadcast, is I actually held 7 drops under my tongue, because I'm doing 7 drops 3 times a day because I'm just too busy to remember when to take them. And that's the thing, if you're somebody like me who has a crazy life, and you can't remember to take 5 drops every 2 hours, or a few drops every hour or whatever, I take 7 3 times a day is what I do, because I'm able to remember that, because I take it along with when I'm taking other vitamins and stuff. So I do it all together at the same time to remind me.
And that's good if you don't have any particular serious situation. However, your priorities change when you're trying to save your life.
If you have cancer or something, you absolutely have to take it like continuously.
Well, we're not making any medical claims.
We're not going to make any claims
ever. We're not going to make any. We're
just
not
recommendations.
Words. But for anybody who is concerned about their health in a very serious situation, fewer drops more often is the way to go. And the reason is, biologically, it's going to be in your system very quickly, flush through, be done, sitting in your bladder, not working for you. And that's why you want to take it more frequently. If you take it, if you put it on topically, really put it where you need it. Do you have something that hurts? You can put it on where it hurts, let it dry, let it sink in, and then use, do you have something for pain relief? Do you know, we have our homeopathic plus relief, which I can talk more about later, because this is more of a zeolite call. We'll do that. But if you have some pain, put the zeolite on first, and then put your roll-on on after that. After it dries, the zeolite is going to draw that in and help with reducing inflammation in that spot right there. Do you have something like Kimberly mentioned, something on your face? Do you have something growing somewhere? Do you have something pink and irritated looking? You can put the zeolite, the cell defender, right on it, and you're not going to hurt anything, and it can actually help. Now, here's another trick, another way to use zeolite that, again, it doesn't say on the bottle. Let's say you have something black, something black and like a lump somewhere on your skin. Did you ever have a lump that concerned you on your skin that was discolored, maybe irregular shape, right? And when you go to a doctor, they say, oh, let's do a biopsy, or let's take that off. Well, what you could do maybe before that is put some Avini Cell Defender on a Band-Aid, and put the Band-Aid on that suspicious looking area. And then just keep that bandage wet, you know, apply the zeolite several times a day and keep it wet with zeolite. And what you may notice, if there's something wrong with those cells, if those cells were meant to go away because there's something bad about them, when you go to take the bandage off, maybe in a week or week to 2 weeks, it just might pull everything off, and there would be new skin underneath. So that's what happens when bad cells interact with cell defender. Cell defender is going to pick up the heavy metals and target those bad cells. So if you have bad cells, you know, what are bad cells? They're anything other than normal. For some people, that means the cells that are growing and dividing and growing and dividing and getting bigger and rooting somewhere and spreading somewhere. Those are bad cells. Bad cells can also be considered scar tissue, an accumulation of tissue that really is growing where it shouldn't be growing. You know, for some women who are having trouble getting pregnant, for example, they have scar tissue in the way. And so that's where our Avini Cell Defender can be very helpful. And what I noticed, and speaking of scar tissue, I have to tell you this little story. I saw evidence of this. My dog, Ginger, who was my greatest teacher, she was insulin dependent. And if you know anything about anybody who's insulin dependent, you have to do the injections at different sites in the body, right? For Ginger, that meant lifting the fur on the back of her neck.
What?
Between the shoulders. And I would alternate right side, left side, right side, left side. Well, one day after she had been on this product for about 30 days, I went to lift her skin and it all let loose. It was like, whoa, what's all that? Apparently, some of that scar tissue had grown and it was difficult to lift her skin to give her the insulin shots. But just one day it all let go. And it was like, wow, I guess this stuff must be working, because she had all those bad cells growing. They weren't bad cells that were growing out of control. They were just, cells that accumulate because of the situation with the injections in that case for her. So you can take it internally, and when you begin to notice, it might be 7 days, it might be 10 days, 14 days, it might be 30 or 60 or 90 days when you begin to get the results that you are looking for. The biggest mistake people make, write this down, the biggest mistake people make is they stop taking it, or they don't take enough. Two reasons. They stop taking it too early.
Absolutely.
Or they don't take it often enough to get the results. And,
I know all about that. I've experienced it. I've been taking this product for how long have I known you for? Like 12, 15 years at least. I started taking that right away when I met you. It's been at least 12 years.
Long time. Yeah.
Yeah, at least. And so I've been taking it. And when I stopped taking it, I noticed a huge difference in health situation and problems I'm having. So once you stop taking it, you're just going to go right back to whatever, basically. So that's something important to.
Well, what you said is so important and so true, Kimberly, because cells have memory. Just like muscles have memory, cells have memory. And so if they're remembering being healthy, great, you're on the right track. If they're remembering their sick state, their low vibration state, they're going to go there. So it's not just toxicity, it's also vibration.
Absolutely.
And we really enjoy saying positive words along with this of, may these drops be blessed, and they are, of course, but may they be the most efficient that they can possibly be in my body today. And then offer gratitude. And boy, you've just amped this up another 100.
Yeah. I bless everything. In fact, I don't have it here, but I'm going to be doing a video on alchemy, on sacred magical alchemy to heal yourself through making this it's like a chart thing that I made that I covered in plastic, that you put your cup on it or your medicine on it or your food on it or whatever on it, and it just amps it way up for healing and creates all this healing and everything.
And I used to do that with the insulin that I gave my dog. I used to just bless it first because that's all I had at the time. I didn't have this at the time. That was before I had this. But once I had this, I not only blessed the insulin, I blessed the zeolite, saying, okay, make sure I don't give her too much. I can't give her too much insulin, because as she got healthier, I had to give her less insulin. Wow, that's a good problem to have. As you get healthier, if you are on any kind of medication, you want to stay in tune with that. I'm not saying quit your medication, but
don't quit
your medication so that you're not taking too much.
Yeah, so because as your body heals, you won't need medication anymore eventually. Exactly. Hopefully you won't need it anymore.
Well, that's what we're finding for people who are insulin dependent or on a medication that regulates their blood pressure, blood sugar. Those are the ones that tend to get you in trouble really fast if you're taking that and you don't need it. But what we're also seeing, and I've seen this personally with some of my students and clients, is if the doctor has prescribed medication for other blood imbalances, other kinds of things that they usually recommend the blood to be thinned, for example. right?
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about. Well, those have very serious side effects. And what our people are finding out is they can take less of that medication as their body begins to heal. So stay in tune, stay connected with your doctor and modifying as you need to. Some of the people I know are quitting their medications cold turkey and managing just fine. But I don't recommend that. I recommend you monitor yourself, be aware, intuitively aware of your own body. How are you feeling? And checking with your doctor to make sure that you're not taking too much. Get some blood work done.
Yep. And I want to say something important. I didn't say it at the beginning, disclaimer that we are not doctors. We cannot prescribe or treat you, and anything that we tell you in this broadcast in this group is, it's your own responsibility. Basically, we're not responsible for what you do. We really, really recommend that you talk to doctors when you're doing this stuff, that you don't just nuke yourself with whatever and not check in with the doctor. I recommend naturopathic doctors because allopathic doctors only know drugs and surgery and vaccines, and that's all they know. I only see holistic doctors. I see Ayurvedic doctors, homeopaths, naturopaths, chiropractors, acupuncturists, those type of people. And find a good or a functional medicine MD doctor, because there are MD doctors that are called integrative or functional medicine. And the purpose of functional medicine is getting to the root cause of your issue and then giving you vitamins or supplements or nutrition or diet or life change or something to heal you, as opposed to here's a drug, here's a drug, here's a drug.
I thought of mistake number 3.
Huh?
Mistake number 3, and this is a big one.
Yeah.
If you say, let me show it to my doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor says, well, I don't know what it is, and you probably shouldn't take it.
If they're an MD, they're going to say that. If they're a naturopath, they won't say that.
They've said it to family members of mine, and we lost our family members.
Wow.
Yeah, to my nephew's wife years ago. She was the reason why I went looking for this, because she had a stage 4 problem. And I found this. I got connected through a doctor in Florida and a woman in Nebraska, roundabout. I sent my nephew's wife some bottles of this. She did mistake number 3. She went to her doctor and she said, can I take this? And he said, it doesn't look like it will hurt you, but you are part of a study. What kind of study was she part of? Right?
Wow.
Some chemical cocktail.
So they killed her, basically.
Yeah, they killed her. Yeah. And I did have the benefit of telling her that
sad.
the reason why I am doing this. And she said, oh, I'm glad I was helpful. But what she was troubled with came back and killed her outright. So that was mistake number 3. And I would like to turn that around into benefit number 3, which is trust your intuition.
Mm-hmm.
Trust yourself. Are you getting a positive vibe from this? Are you knowing that even if you intellectually read the scientific studies, and if you want them, I got them. We can give you scientific studies on this, that this takes out heavy metals. So ask yourself, is this something you need? Will that
muscle test
root cause of the problem? Well, sometimes you can test for yourself if you are clear. If you're not clear, then you need a clear person to test for you.
There's lots of chiropractors who are kinesiologists. My old chiropractor before I moved away was a kinesiologist, and I would bring all my supplements into him and he would muscle test me. Because that's really the best way to buy supplements and to take them, is to have somebody who's a kinesiologist muscle test you.
Or an intuitive.
Or a medical intuitive.
I can do that for you. I'd happy to test you and give you your recommended dose based on, and that can change. That changes. As you get better, do you need as much? Do you need it as often? But I would say give this a full 90 days, a full meal deal, hitting it hard, five drops every hour And,
It took me 4 months to get my fibroids down. I had 3 doctors who wanted to either take out my uterus or do surgery on it. And I'm allergic to anesthesia and I cannot have surgery done on me. And so I kind of said, screw you. And I went and took the zeolite crystal for 4 months, went back in and got a scan, and they said, your fibroids are gone. After 4 months of taking zeolite, the fibroids were gone. And if I would have listened to the allopathic, what I call the cabal Rockefeller doctors, who are just big pharma salesmen, they would have done surgery on me, charged me $30,000 or more for the surgery. And then my family would have been bankrupted. And then I would have had no uterus for what? So the Rockefellers can laugh and say, another stupid human.
You wouldn't have survived the surgery.
Yeah, I wouldn't have survived the surgery. I would have been dead. They would have killed me. So
that would have been it. If
that would have been the end of me.
Anesthesia, they wouldn't have been able to pull you out of that.
Yeah, I'm allergic to anesthesia. And I found this out years ago. I actually, 2 years after my daughter was born, I had to have a heart surgery, and they put me under anesthesia for that. And I'd never been put under anesthesia before. And it actually wiped out 7 years of my memories. I went 7 years, 7 years later, I couldn't remember anything that happened the last 7 years. It destroyed a portion of my brain. Well, I had my genetics tested, and I found out that my body does not process drugs, alcohol, and especially anesthesia the way other normal humans do. My body is like alien, basically. It's very, well, I'm a high-level starseed, so what can I say? But my body doesn't process like the normal people do, and either drugs or alcohol, which is why I don't drink alcohol as much as I would like to. I can't, because it makes me sick every time I drink it. My body just doesn't process it properly. So yeah, if I were to go back in and do surgery, that would be the end. So what do? I don't have my zeolite with me, but I have a bottle that looks like it. I take it. And Rosemary, I want to kind of interrupt this. So somebody said, Kimberly, you said you take 3 times a day. Is it one? I take 7 drops because the bottle says to take 10 drops twice a day. So what I do is I take 7 drops 3 times a day. That's my maintenance dose. If I have fibroids or something going on, I'm taking 5 drops every hour on the hour. I'm continuously taking it. But right now I'm kind of more on a maintenance kind of a thing, because I'm just trying to get rid of the chemtrails and stuff, gradually. So I'm doing 7 drops 3 times a day right now. And I want to talk about water, you all, because somebody asked, do you still need water after you put it under your tongue? When you're taking any detox product, I don't care if it's zeolite, I don't care if it's chlorella or spirulina or anything that's a detox product, you have to drink a lot of water, especially with the zeolite. The zeolite's going to dry you out. That's why if you put it on a pimple, it dries it out. If I don't drink enough water with my zeolite, guess what happens? I get a headache. I actually get a headache because I get dehydrated, because the zeolite, what it does is it connects with the heavy metals, and then it flushes them out through your pee and your poop or your sweat. If you're going in the infrared sauna, or you're exercising, or you're on the beach, whatever. So that's how the toxins come out of you, is through your pee, your poo, and your sweat. Well, the problem is, if you're not drinking enough water, you're not going to flush that out of your body. And then it's actually going to back up and float around in your body. And you've actually said that to me before.
Well, I'm thinking of what Marcy said. I bring up Marcy's name quite a bit, because when she shared this product with me back in 2006, she had a stage 4 problem. And when she talks about it now, by the way, that was gone in 30 days with this. She intuitively took 10 drops every hour. And what she will say, and if you ask her about water, she said, I wasn't drinking any water.
What?
She did not drink any water.
Really?
She was really sick.
Because I get a headache if I don't. When I take the zeolite, if I don't take water, I get a headache with it every time.
Get a headache for not having enough water in your system, but she didn't take any water. She still got the results that she wanted. So I would say, yes, water is important. It's good to have to keep yourself hydrated. What has gone out of your system will not come back in. It will not hurt you, because anything that's trapped in the cage is trapped in the cage. It will not come out of the cage.
Okay.
So that, don't worry about that. But drinking water, yeah, that's a good idea. I recommend drinking water. But if you don't drink water, it's still going to work, but you might suffer some consequences of not drinking enough water.
Somebody's asking, the starter pack I ordered had the Oral Plus Relief Cobra Venom, and I was wondering how, about how to take this item and what it works for.
Okay, great. So there are 3 different I just have the roll-on here. There's an oral spray, there's a gel topical, and a roll-on. I really like the roll-on because I can reach around on my lower back and just kind of roll it where I need it, or get the back of the neck very easily. It's a homeopathic drug. So it is in the category of homeopathic drug. It is FDA approved as a homeopathic drug. Rick, our biochemist, has a cobra farm with very happy hundreds of cobras that he
Scary.
and he has
scary.
caring for the cobras, and they love the cobras.
Cobras.
I don't feel that way about cobras. I know you and I differ in
They
that.
killed me in a past life, so I don't like them.
Let's heal that, okay? So, as a biologist, I get it. Cobras, let me talk about cobras just for a second. Cobras, all snakes, are very, very sensitive. And they are connected to the earth, Mother Gaia. They're connected to the earth. They have their heart on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that I admire so much about snakes and about their energy, their vulnerability, their flexibility in their spine, their ability to sense their environment. As a biologist, oh my God, let's talk snakes, because they're amazing creatures. They are God's creatures, and they can kill you. All right.
They can kill you.
Cobra venom.
Some of them.
Cobra venom could kill you.
Mm-hmm.
But what Rick has done, and he spent years studying venom. He started his studies with venomous snails, if you can believe it. Venomous snails. How hard would it be to get venom out of a snail? Yeah, but he grew that into studying venom from snakes, specifically cobras. He has a way of working with the snakes that extracts the venom safely, happily. They bite something, they collect the venom. When the cobras go back to their boxes, they have fresh hay and a rat or a mouse, and they're good for 2 weeks. They're happy. So what will this do for you? Well, what Rick has done is he's taken this venom and denatured it a little bit and cleaned it up a little bit. So you're not actually getting a full strength venom in here. You're not even getting a non-full strength venom. You're getting some peptides of that will reduce inflammation. And there's a whole PDF on this, a whole series if you want to watch it. Lots of testimonies. People are using it where they hurt. And some of the reasons why people hurt, nerves are misfiring, for example, or there's a myelin sheath on the nerve that is not there anymore when it should be there. You should have an insulation on your wire, but it's gone for some reason. And that can happen in the brain. It can happen just underneath the skin. There are names of diseases for all this stuff. It can be from an injury. It can be from swelling, inflammation, any reason. And you can put this on it directly, and you can spray orally, internally, and the two together work amazingly fast. My yoga teacher was saying, "Hey, Rosemary, you know that stuff I got from you? I had this sore spot on my leg. I tried everything." Why did he try everything when he had this in his hand? I don't know. He said, "I tried Salon Paws. I tried this. I tried that." He went down the whole list of what he tried. And then he said, "But then I remembered this, and I put a little on, and within 5 minutes," sorry about that, within 5 minutes, the pain was gone. So that's what this is. If you want more information, I'm happy to share that with you. It is on the Avini website, and it's just amazing stuff. Non-addictive, more powerful than morphine, and non-addictive. What a blessing that is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, snakes.
I want to interject something here. So just so you all know, the cobra venom and snake venom is not just used by this company and this product, because I do research into holistic products and anti-aging products every day. I've been researching products for 37 years because I had to heal myself over and over and over and over again. There are a whole bunch of competitors to Avini who have a cobra snake venom pain relief product, a whole bunch of them out there. Why would you want this one over those? Because Rick, who's the scientist who created all of this stuff, is freaking amazeballs. And I trust him way above any of these other idiots at some of these other companies, because a lot of these companies that are out there are what I call poorly managed MLM companies that just have really bad management. In fact, Rick had an issue where he was bouncing around from company to company working for these companies, and he wound up starting his own company because he was so sick and tired of the way all these MLMs were being, mismanaged, basically.
Right.
So yeah, so this product is going to be superior to any of the competitors' products, because here's what happens with Rick that I've noticed. He creates a product and then 50 people go and copy him, and their version is never as good because they're using cheap materials from China and all over the place, and they're cheaping out and they're not putting the quality into it. And when Rick creates a product, he's doing the highest quality possible.
Well, thanks for bringing that up, Kimberly, because powdered zeolite you can buy anywhere.
Anywhere, but it's contaminated though.
It is. Well, it's instantly contaminated the moment it forms. When zeolite forms, it's because lava and ash mixes with seawater, and then this clinoptilolite, the zeolite, begins to pull the heavy metals into it. So it's already dirty. And what Rick has said is you can buy a ton of this stuff, truckloads of this.
It's really cheap.
For a few dollars.
Mm-hmm.
But he has more than 30 steps involved in the process, in a batch. He makes it by the batch. He goes into his lab and he makes it. More than 30 steps to clean it, make it small, small, small. So of course we have something that works. You would be throwing your money away on anything else. I see Kimberly has the nano silver. I wanted, if that's okay.
Saved my life. It saved my life umpteen times over.
Can I talk about the silver?
Yeah, I think you should. But I want to say something before you say that. So I had COVID, and that silver saved me with that. And then also I had a horrible bladder infection that was antibiotic resistant. They nuked me 3 times over with different types of antibiotics. Nothing would work. The only thing that worked was that silver. I took a teaspoon of it or a tablespoon of it once an hour for several days straight. Bang, gone. No more bladder infection.
Yes, this is incredible stuff. So it's nano silver. It's not colloidal silver. There is a difference. It's
huge difference.
It's not ionic. Ionic silver can turn your skin a different
blue,
gray, and nano silver is the silver particle, spherical silver. They make it with laser ablation, so they're getting silver spheres, and the silver spheres are surrounded by a pyramid of oxygen. So you've got oxygen, 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 oxygen. So it's a pyramid of oxygen around a sphere of silver. Sacred geometry, incredible, right? And what happens is you can spray this on anywhere. You can spray it on a problem on your skin that won't heal up. We've seen incredible miracles with stuff growing on the skin that is really happy growing there, but you bring your silver along and you start spraying it, and after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks of spraying this on the skin is healed up. A bottle can get you out of trouble. If you have some kind of like Kimberly says, her encounter with a virus, my recent encounter with my grandson's cold. So I wasn't doing 5 sprays. I was taking this off, pouring it into a shot glass and having a half a shot every couple of hours. And that's how I was getting through that. Now it landed here in my sinuses. That's where I wanted to stay. So I was putting it up my nose. I can put Cell Defender up my nose, and I can put this up my nose.
I did that with COVID. I put I put them up my nose to kill all that stuff, because COVID is all up in your sinuses. And
That's right. So you can put this up your nose. It's okay to mix them. Yes. Now there are people, doctors who do colonics, who are putting these in the colonics. What do you think they're getting out?
All kinds of toxins and gross stuff.
You're getting parasites.
Oh, parasites. Okay.
Parasites. Because where do parasites like to land? Where they get a lot of food, which is in your gut.
Your intestines. Yeah.
That's right. So the doctors who are doing colonics are using both of these in the colonics, and they're flushing out stuff like you wouldn't believe. In fact, if you're doing both of these at home, you might notice stuff in your toilet.
Yeah, in your poop.
That's wriggling, that has heads on them. And don't be afraid, because that came out of you. Glad that it came out of you, and keep going. Keep going.
Most Americans, or most humans on this earth, are full of parasites.
Oh yeah. So. Yep. I think I've quoted this before to Grace, I think your daughter. I said, the parasites are having a party. And so what you want to do is make it uncomfortable for them. How do you make it uncomfortable for parasites? Well, you do have to do some diet changes. Stop feeding them. Don't feed them sugar.
Pumpkin seeds. That's what I did when I had parasites. They hate pumpkin seeds. They come right out with that stuff.
Well, you do want to have good fiber. So our Avini fiber does have some zeolite in it. That will help. Also, changing the pH of your body, that will help. Your Cell Defender is going to make the pH a little bit
alkaline,
higher. Yes, higher pH. So it's going to be less friendly to parasites. And then you want to go ahead and kill the suckers outright. That's what this will do.
Yeah, exactly.
When we didn't have our nano silver, so for years before we got our nano silver, we were using this. This was getting after parasites too. That's why I'm saying it's okay to use both together. Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't counteract each other. So, Rosemary, somebody asked, Amanda, I think, I was wondering if the silver would be helpful for the following instance. The CDC recommends a typhoid fever vaccine to go to Ecuador. I am not super interested in being vaccinated since typhoid is from the water contaminated by the typhoid bacteria. Would it help protect against it? What do you think? I think yes. My other advice would be to get a traveler's sized bottle of grapefruit seed extract, and you put a drop or 2 or 3 into the water, the glass of water or the bottle of water or whatever, before you drink it each time. So there's that. And don't brush your teeth with tap water when you're in foreign countries like that. We went to Greece and we used bottled water, and you have to be careful. So
you do have to be more careful. And to go the places you want to go, you do have to follow the guidelines that they are offering as restrictions. However, you can correct some of those. You can absolutely, and I recommend this with any vaccine, with a vaccine that people are giving their children, their babies. And I tell my kids this, for my grandson, if he's going to get a vaccine, which they will do, I said, he's got to have this.
Yeah, because it gets some mercury and aluminum out that they put in all the vaccines.
And for weeks after, go heavy on this, because those are more insidious than you can imagine. So if you are going to be subjected to that kind of situation, you do have to have this on hand. You do have to get ahead of it. Take it before preventatively, proactively, and then take it after again, so that you can be proactive in getting out the problem stuff. And you can put it in your water, and you can take it with you, and you can yeah, you can keep ahead of any of those situations. Yes. And I would say the silver is a real good thing to bring with you as well.
Yep, absolutely. I went to Greece and I brought with my bottle of the zeolite, and because it's under 3 ounces, because when you travel, well, I used to be a travel agent, so I should know this, but you have to keep all your bottles of liquid under 3 ounces. And so I bought little, you can order them on Amazon. You can get little dropper bottles that are brown or dark blue because they protect whatever you put in it, like the essential oils or whatever you put in it. So I buy little 1 ounce and 2 ounce dropper bottles, and I also buy the little spray bottles too, and then I travel with it. So I poured, because the silver bottle's too big to travel with. So what I did is I poured some of the silver into a little brown glass spray bottle, and I brought that with me to Greece, and it was awesome. It really, really helped. And I took a little bit of it every day to prevent me from getting food poisoning, and all sorts of stuff. Because that's another thing you can do if you're worried. If you go to a restaurant, you're going to eat out, make sure you take zeolite and a little bit of silver, because that will help you to prevent. And I can't guarantee that you won't get, food poisoning, because you could still get it, but you have a less likely chance of getting it if you do some silver and some zeolite before and after you eat out at a restaurant, especially if it's a sketchy restaurant and you're not too sure, or you're in a foreign country like Mexico or somewhere.
You bring up an important point, Kimberly, and that is that the microbes themselves produce toxins in the body. So aflatoxins from mold, for example.
Yeah, there's mycotoxins on nuts.
That's right. So if you're getting toxins from the microbes that are in your body, from the yeast, from the mold, from the bacteria and so forth, then the zeolite, of course, is going to take care of those toxins too, not just heavy metals, just heavy metals. You're going to take care of all the other toxins. So if you're exposed to black mold, if you have yeast growing in your body, number 1, yeast, stop eating sugar. Number 2, change your pH.
Absolutely.
The zeolite, it'll get after your...
And loracetin saved my life. I had a massive yeast infection from being nuked by antibiotics for so long. And I used a product called loracetin. It's spelled LAURACIDIN. It comes from monolauric acid from coconuts. And you take it 3 times a day and it knocks out all the yeast in your body. Really wonderful product.
Well, so we're talking about different mechanisms here. And where the zeolite uses one mechanism of pulling out the toxins, changing the pH, that's a really good mechanism. If you want to add another mechanism, like what you were just talking about, a supplement, an antioxidant, an oil, all of those are different mechanisms that help the body.
But they all work together complementary, because I take a multi-step approach. I don't, when I'm healing myself from anything at all, I don't just use one thing.
Right.
I hit it from every different direction. I hit it with maybe an essential oil and an herbal thing and a tea and a special, pill I take, and then the zeolite and then the silver, I hit it from all different directions with many different things.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you? Exactly. Why wouldn't you? So what we're doing here is we're filling a space, we're filling a gap that nobody has had access to ever before. Yeah. Where people are kind of sort of, they know about supplements, they kind of know about antioxidants, and they know about some plant essences. They kind of know about these things, but most people have not heard about our Avini Cell Defender. Most people have not heard about nano silver. They've heard about colloidal silver. They haven't heard about nano silver. Nobody's really ever heard of cobra venom for pain relief.
Right.
Wow, we can get people out of trouble. Can you imagine, what is the problem with all the drugs that people are getting from after surgery, their pain relief drugs, is people are getting hooked on the drugs.
Codeine and all that. Yeah.
The oxys. Well, you can do this and you're not going to be hooked on any of those medications. In fact, you front load this a little bit, take it maybe 5 times during the day for a few days, and then you can taper off. You won't need as much. Wow, what a reverse. What a turnaround for that.
Rosemary, Motorola Edge, whoever that is, it doesn't say the person's name, but it just says Motorola Edge 55G. What dosage would you recommend for a toddler who's been vaccinated until she was 4 to get the metals out? What would you recommend for a kiddo?
So, so my grandson is 2 next month, and he was brought up on this. He will be a little bird and come and, he'll find the bottle and he'll ask for it. So he knows what it is. He'll ask for it. He'll open his mouth like that, and we just put a few drops in. So for a toddler, I would say 3 to 5 drops, and just fairly often throughout the day. So maybe 4 times a day. Are you concerned? Are you concerned about anything right now? Are you concerned about any symptoms you're seeing? With some children who are being vaccinated, it's almost like the light bulb goes out. And it's not just with toddlers, it's with animals too. Animals who are getting the rabies vaccination, it's about a 30-day period that I see after a dog gets a rabies vaccination. All of a sudden, they're a different dog.
My cat's been impacted by those really badly. Really badly.
So you can, again, before vaccinations and after vaccinations, you can just do a few drops. 3 drops is plenty for a toddler or a cat or a dog, and maybe keep up with it every hour, every 2 hours. Don't go more than 2 hours. I would say every hour or 2.
So, so I have a cat that is overweight from thyroid disorder and all kinds of stuff. And she's kind of borderline, I think, diabetic at this point because of her weight. So how much would I give her if I'm trying to heal her? How much would I give her of the zeolite?
Cats are interesting. And I will say that cat food is some of the worst ever in the world. Cat kibble will kill a cat by shutting down their kidneys. Cats will go into kidney failure with dry food, usually. I'll give you a website for that, catinfo.org, catinfo.org. It's written by a vet, a holistic vet, who teaches you how to feed a cat. So aside from that, how much do you give a cat? Just, a few drops, several times a day. And I did a call with somebody, just a one-on-one call. Somebody called me because Neil, our CEO of the company, he texts me when he has a question or a problem, or he wants to connect me to somebody. Anyway, this woman called me, I can't remember from where, and I helped her with a cat. I told her what to do for her cat, and I met her at the convention we had last end of September. And she came up to me and she said, "You saved my cat's life." I go, "Huh?" Really, I did. She said, "Yeah, you remember we had a chat?" I said, "Oh, yeah." Well, really, all I did was tell her to give her cat these drops. Because, again, let's go back to mistake number 1, 2, and 3. Number 1 is don't take it. Number 2 is don't take it long enough. And number 3 is listen to somebody who tells you not to take it. So those are the 3 mistakes. If you stay away from those and you start taking 3 to 5 to 10 drops every hour or 2 or 3, depending upon what you need, what your cat needs, what your dog needs, what your bird needs, what your kid needs, then you're good. Did I answer it for you?
Yeah. So okay. So cats are really bad at drinking water. My cat is. Is that going to be a problem at all? With the fact that
yes, it is, because dry food is the problem. So wet food seems to be less of a problem. So people who give their cats wet food, or the cats are willing to eat wet food, less of a problem. Make the food wet. The other problem, of course, with animal food is that it's very high in salts and sugars. And these companies that make pet food are getting your animals addicted to their food. Think about how you are. Are you addicted to sugar? Are you addicted to salt? Are you addicted to some kind of food? Well, not your fault. It's not your fault. If you are dealing with a weight issue, understand that there are 2 things at work here. Number 1, It's not your fault. You've got heavy metals. You have toxins, so you've got to get those out. And number two, it's not your fault. You're addicted to something that they did on purpose. So I recommend in that case, these two especially, our Cell Defender, Avini Cell Defender, and our fiber, which will help get you out of trouble with the toxicity, help heal your gut, help give you a healthy microbiome, help get you out of trouble from those. And then I don't have a thing of it here, a container. We have a brand new product called Trim Science. Love, love, love that, because this will help with your metabolism, but keep your heart calm. There is some caffeine in it, natural caffeine sources, but it's ameliorated with enzymes. So if you're not used to caffeine, you won't feel it. You won't feel the caffeine, but it's helping your metabolism and it's detoxing you at the same time. So we actually call that the Avini bundle. It's 3 products together. It's our Cell Defender, it's our fiber, and the product I don't have, Trim Science, in 3 flavors: chocolate, coffee, and matcha tea. I mix the chocolate and the coffee together. It's so good.
Chocolate is my biggest downfall in life. It's my only addiction I have is chocolate. I'm addicted to chocolate.
Well, chocolate is also an indicator that you might be low in magnesium. And so that might be something to consider. That I know you take a magnesium supplement.
I take one every day. Yeah.
And
I
so
still like chocolate.
for me now is not so much of an addiction like it used to be. Oh my God, I used to have a bag of morsels in my refrigerator. Every time I walked by, I would get a handful of morsels. And then I had all those fibroids in my breast, and the doctor said, "Do you eat a lot of chocolate?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So Amanda said something and asked a question here. She said, my cat got the rabies vaccine a month ago. She's been having escalating issues with vomiting her food and her sinus allergy issues. My cat also has the sinus allergy issues. I have her on special food and it used to help. I bought my cat a water fountain and that helped her drink water. What would a good zeolite or silver dosage be?
Well, I would definitely get started with a Cell Defender. I would, now cats are a little tricky. They're little alien beings.
They are.
If they let you.
They're Lyrans.
Yeah. So what I do is I kind of lift the lip and I squirt it in.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the fastest, easiest way to get it in there. But if you have a cat that has an aversion to you putting anything in their mouth because they've learned that you're coming with medicine that makes them feel bad or taste bad or whatever, they don't trust you, then find a way to get it in them. Maybe they'll lick it off your finger. Maybe you could put it on a morsel of something yummy, you know, a piece of fish or a special treat that's soft and moist, and get it in them that way. A friend of mine has a 16-year-old Maine Coon cat who about 6 months ago had a death sentence and an expiration date with congestive heart failure and fluid in the lungs. So they were able to save his life that day with getting some of that extra fluid out so he could breathe. He's still here. How does he take the zeolite? And by the way, our mushrooms also. He gets some mushrooms on his food, which has some zeolite in it, good for his immune system, good for circulation, good for all kinds of things for health. Hospice has used a lot of mushrooms in their studies, especially in Japan. He gets a few drops of this right off of his mom's finger. He'll lick it right off. Why does he do that? Because he knows it helps him feel better, and he's still here. He's taking a very long exit from life, and he's still well. He'll patrol the house. He'll take care of the crows outside. He's engaged. He's just not sleeping in a corner somewhere. He's alive and well. So you got to get it in them.
Grace asked how much fiber you take each time.
So there is a scoop. I have an empty thing here, but there is a scoop that you can use to measure. I use the amount of water they recommend. I thought I was smart. I'm not so smart. I put a small amount of water into a jar and added the full scoop and drank that, but it wasn't enough water. And I could feel it kind of getting stuck in there. So you want to drink the amount of water that it says to drink, which is, I think, 8 ounces. I put it into a jar, I shake it up so that it's all dissolved, or you could use one of those little whisks, electric mixer of some sort, and then drink it down 5 to 15 minutes before a meal. I have found for myself that once a day seems to be enough. I started taking it twice a day, before breakfast and before dinner. And that was great to kind of get things going in my system. And it's not so much about being able to poop. It's more about what's your healthy gut? How are you able to digest your food? How are you able to slow the food down so that your gut can absorb the nutrients? It makes a gel fiber matrix, so you can actually absorb the nutrition you're getting from your food. And more importantly, when this gets into the blood, it's going to help regulate some of the things that doctors test for. Doctors test for cholesterol and blood sugar and all those. Those come into balance when you are taking the fiber. It's amazing what that fiber will do. So right now, personally, I'm just using it once a day, because I have found that that's what's most effective for me. I also eat lots of vegetables and salads. So that's my balance. Why?
Yeah.
Because a meal, think about a meal that just kind of goes through and that's it. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
You could slow it down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It could break down a little bit faster, a little bit better. You could get the most nutritional value out of your food rather than not taking it before a meal. But are you restricted to taking it only before a meal? No, you can take it before not a meal.
Okay, because Grace asked why before meals. I mean, for me, okay, so Grace, my idea of why you would take it before a meal is because it fills you up and you don't eat as much. So if you're trying to lose weight, you want to always take your fiber before a meal, because then your stomach feels a little full and you don't eat as much. So that's, for me, the number one reason. I don't know what other reasons there are, but for me, taking it before a meal is all about diet and weight loss. So that's what I've learned about that. What other reasons
That's
are
one benefit. Yes, that's
yeah.
definitely one benefit. You feel satisfied. And what I have also discovered is not only do I feel satisfied in the moment for that meal, but I feel satisfied later. Like I've had enough. I've had enough calories. I'm not looking for extra ways to fill those low energy times. There is no low energy time. When your blood sugar is even, then you don't get these spikes, these sugar spikes. When does a sugar spike happen? Usually a couple hours after you're done eating, right? And where you're either ready to fall asleep or you're trying to grab a candy bar or a snack so you don't fall asleep, you get more energy. You don't get that happening. You get more of an even metabolism, even sugars in your blood, so you're not craving not only for the moment, but you're not craving 2 hours later, and you're not falling asleep 2 hours later.
Yeah, that sounds good. I know fiber is really important for keeping an even metabolism and even blood sugar level throughout the day. It's like so important to get adequate amounts of fiber. I need to take more. So I'm trying to sneak it in through, like today I had brunch and I had eggs, but I put a bunch of vegetables in. So I made like an omelet and I put arugula, which is one of the highest nutrient dense greens that you could ever buy, is arugula. And I mixed in a bunch of that with my omelet and tomatoes and other types of stuff. And that's how I get a lot of fiber. I also like to add flax seed, chia seed. What's that other stuff called? Hemp. I bought hemp hearts, like a huge bag of hemp hearts.
Oh.
And my husband cracks me up because I had been using hemp hearts for a long time, and he always ignores everything I do and doesn't listen to me. He went and he figured out after doing his own research and reading that hemp hearts and all that was important. And then he went and he ordered his own, stuff.
Well, and that's
So,
wonderful. We really do need to eat fresh
yeah.
fruits and vegetables. We need to
Yeah.
add fiber to our diet. And yet it is almost impossible to do that without a fiber supplement, without having something
It's hard
deliberate.
in it. Yeah.
It's really
agree.
hard. You'd have to walk around with a cooler all the time
Mhm.
with all your extra fiber that you need to add to your diet. So this is a great way to add it.
Grace wanted to know if you had time to talk about the mushrooms. Did you want to talk about the mushrooms? And I mean, the biggest thing I know about those mushrooms is the reishi mushrooms, or what they call Ganoderma, have been shown in all kinds of scientific studies to totally get rid of cancers. And I actually have a friend, Mitch McKell, his brother was a famous doctor who cured cancer, and he used Ganoderma reishi mushrooms to do it.
Well,
So,
of course, yes, absolutely. I'm happy to talk about the mushrooms. One of my favorites. Where do I begin? So this formulation has 7 mushrooms that are grown together. So it's not just this mushroom, this mushroom, this mushroom grown separately, then combined. They are actually grown together so they compete with each other to have a higher amount of beta glucans in them, plus zeolite. So the reason why I like these, first of all, because they're no nonsense business, there are mushrooms in here that have been used in studies, mostly in Japan, for decades. Back in the 70s, Japanese scientists were studying people around the world to see where were the healthiest people. Discovered that the healthiest people were in Brazil, in an area called the Piedade region of Brazil. And what they discovered when they went there was that the people were going into the rainforest and harvesting the Agaricus blazei mushroom. And they were eating it. They were cooking with it. They were adding it to teas and consuming it in all kinds of ways. So they took some of this Agaricus blazei mushroom back to Japan with it and studied it, and therefore they got all these amazing studies with the health benefits of mushrooms. Agaricus blazei is in here. The Piedade region of Brazil doesn't exist anymore. Does not exist anymore. It was rainforest.
And they cut it all down, probably.
They did. So the Agaricus blazei
evil
was saved by the Japanese, and we have it in our formulation, 7 different mushrooms growing together. What mushrooms will do is, one of the things they will do, besides helping the immune system, is that they are an anti-angiogenesis. I'll say that again, anti-angiogenesis. In other words, it helps prevent the creation of new blood vessels. Wow, that's really important. Let's say you've got the surface of an organ, or some kind of tissue in your body here, and some bad cells land on it, and then they start to grow their blood vessels into it, right, to root themselves. Maybe it's the lining of your gut, maybe it's the lining of your lungs, or on your liver, or in your brain. They're growing these roots that help to feed those cells. And anti-angiogenesis will help prevent the formation of those blood vessels so that something can't root. Do you see what I'm doing here? Do you understand? This was really important for my doc, who had a blood cancer. Because of these mushrooms having their anti-angiogenesis feature, the kind of dis-ease she had was all about creating more blood vessels, very weak blood vessels that would bleed. And so it's an internal bleeding disease people can get also. And it nearly killed her. but we gave her lots of mushrooms and lots of zeolite, and we got to her. Yeah. Does
Wow.
that help answer something about the mushrooms? I wouldn't be without them, by the way. 1 capsule twice a day on here is what it recommends as a maintenance dose. Now, over this past week, when I've been dealing with my grandson's cold, I've been taking 2 twice a day. For my friend who lives in New Hampshire, who has a breast, something growing on the breast, I've been talking to her about what Marcy did. Marcy was taking, how many was she taking? 12 to 18 a day is what
Wow.
she's taking. But that was,
Yeah, well, that's when you're killing cancer. That's what you have to do.
well, it's also when we had a less potent product. Our product today is more potent than Marcy was using it years ago. So you could probably do 8 as a crisis dose, and that would be plenty. Yeah, that would be plenty. So I would do 2 or 3 at a time. Like if you were doing 3 to get out of trouble, 3 times a day, that'd be 9. That would be pretty good. Yeah. Or 2 to get through a cold or some other kind of situation like that. 2, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. That's how you would use that product.
Awesome. I want to go back to the zeolite for a minute about something that I want you to cover for everybody, because you talked to me about this multiple times in the past, and that's the order of priority of how the zeolite gets stuff out of you. And it was like first the heavy metals, and then the toxins, and then the this, and then the that. Do you want to explain to everybody about how the zeolite works in order of priority in your system?
Yes, of course. So the heavy metals, the big bad boys, as I call them, have a very strong positive charge. They're very tiny, they're very dense. They have a very strong affinity for this negatively charged zeolite. So that's first. And once they get stuck in that cage, they don't come out. Calcium, magnesium, iron, stuff like that will float through the cage. It won't stick. But the big bad boys will stick and they won't come out. You would need the heat of a volcano to get them out. So they're stuck in there. After that, because that's a priority, after that, concentration is something to consider. Anything that you have a lot of will also be picked up by the zeolite. So let's say a diabetic person has a lot of sugar, extra sugar, floating through their blood. That's a lot. That's a concentration. So zeolite will not take sugar into the cage, but it will sandwich it like an Oreo cookie. So the extra sugar or the extra dioxins or the extra plastics and flame retardants and all the extra stuff will get sandwiched between layers of zeolite and then escorted out the body. So that's the priority. The charge is number 1. The concentration is number 2.
Awesome. So Kim, thank you for that. I really appreciate, I can't even talk today. I appreciate your explaining that for everybody. Kim asked a question. She said, I have osteoporosis and poor bone density and have had my cervical spine rebuilt with cadaver bones and titanium. Is Cell Defender good for my bone healing?
Imagine this. Imagine that if instead of storing lead in your bones, you could put calcium into your bones. How would that feel? Would that feel good? Yeah? Well, let's get the lead out, literally, get the lead out of your bones so that your bones can store calcium instead. There is a wonderful book by Roberto Villaldo called Grow a New Body. And in it, he talks about toxins and having to get the toxins out, but he also talks about how the body really wants to regenerate new and healthy cells. If you are not regenerating new bone, new heart, new liver, new eyes, new brain, new hair, new skin, new nails, if you're not regenerating that, you haven't got the toxins out yet. take out the toxins and grow
Okay.
a new body. You
Yep.
can have a new skeleton. Absolutely. But how long does it take? A week? A month? A year? It takes a few years for you to get a new skeleton. So I would say rule number one, don't stop.
That's advice for me too, because I have horrible osteoarthritis and degenerative joint disorder, and my joints in my hands are degenerating down to nothing, and in my neck and I have discs degenerating in my neck. I've got in my back, everywhere, just a mess.
Well,
So
look at how sensitive you are, Kimberly,
yeah.
and how long you've been trying to work on getting these toxins out. Now, I do have a friend in Prince Edward Island. She is a retired nurse. And years ago, she and her colleagues had bone density scans, and they could see that the bone density was a problem for some of her colleagues, but not for her, because she had a baseline of not so good. And then she started taking our zeolite. She's been taking it almost as long as I have, and she's got strong bones. So strong bones means that you're growing new bones. You're getting the toxins out. And instead of storing lead in your bones, you're storing calcium. And that's what you want.
Yep. Yeah. And you don't want it out floating around in your bloodstream, because that messes up your heart. You want it to go to the bones.
So you want all of the things in your body to be working. It's called homeostasis. Now we're getting to the biology part of it, right?
Yeah.
Your body knows how to work. Your body knows how to heal. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to decide anything. All you have to do is make sure there are no toxins in there, get those heavy metals out, make some adjustments in your environment. Don't use chemicals in your environment. Don't expose yourself to something that is going to hurt you. So work on your environment. Maybe change your diet if you need to change your diet.
Organic.
Try to go organic as much as possible. Avoid the sugars. Be smart about it. And if that feels a little bit difficult for you, I understand. I get it. But what has helped me so much is by saying, before I consume something or use something, will this help me or will it hurt me? Will it help me or will it hurt me? And so when I come across something that is a challenge for me, that maybe I have an addiction to, I used to have an addiction to sugar. I used to have an addiction to caffeine. I used to have these addictions. I don't anymore, because I've had a conversation with it, and I've said, is this going to help me or hurt me? No, that doesn't feel good in my body anymore. So no, not a problem letting that one go. It doesn't feel good in my body. So being in tune with your body is really helpful.
Awesome. So Rochelle asked a question. I have a friend who is HIV positive and takes meds. He asked if the zeolite would affect the medicine. I'm going to say absolutely not. It doesn't affect any medicine. But what do you say, Rosemary?
It's all based on charge. Remember, charge and concentration. So if the charge is a strong heavy metal, and that kind of medication is not, right? If it's a strong heavy metal, like if you're taking a chemotherapy called cisplatin or carboplatin, right? That's got platinum in it. So of course, it's going to take that. Sorry about that.
My phone was on.
It'll take out anything with platinum, anything with lithium. It will take that out. Absolutely. But most medications are a negative charge, and this is a negative charge, not going to take it out. That's an interesting way to word the question. I just want to point this out. It's a friend who is taking a medicine who has a virus. What would you rather deal with? Just asking, what would you rather deal with? Would you rather deal with the medicine or the virus? Comments from anybody? Would you rather not have the virus?
I'd rather not have the virus. And I know, like I said, I've been taking all this stuff with the, what do you call it? With the COVID, I was taking the zeolite and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I personally feel that this stuff is detrimental when you have viruses, and HIV is a huge virus.
Right. So if you would
Yeah.
rather not have a virus, I would
Mhm.
start thinking about that. I would start thinking about what would help you not
Yeah.
have the virus.
Yeah.
Just saying, I would think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could deal with a virus, would you try? I would. And it could be any kind of virus. It could be a life-threatening virus or just one that's passing through, or one that is changing the structure of whatever and hiding in your body. You know, think chickenpox, right? When we were little and we all had chickenpox before there was any vaccine for that, we all had chickenpox. I did. And then it started showing up for some people later in life as shingles, right? I had
Right.
shingles for like a few hours one day. What did I do? I took my zeolite. So I'm just saying it's a mindset in this case. If you have
Yeah.
the tools to use that we know have shown efficacy for these situations, wouldn't you want to try them? And it can't hurt and it might help. That's the approach I would give it. It can't hurt, it might help.
I want to say something else. So I don't know if you all know this, but it was in the news, in the mainstream news, that I can't remember, I want to say Britain or somewhere, they actually cured 6 people completely of HIV. They now have a solution for it, like a cure for HIV. And they have 6 totally HIV clients. So if you all Google HIV cure, whatever, I'm sure it'll pop up, but it was just in the news last week, a whole thing where they literally have now cured 6 people completely of HIV using a specific like drug or whatever it is.
Well, let's
So
talk about the biology of
yeah,
viruses, if that's
yeah,
okay. I like to go there. The biology of viruses, in and of themselves, they must have a host in order to behave like they are alive. They have to have a host. And once they have a host, they go into the cells of the host, take over the DNA, destroy the cell that they're in, and use the components of the cell as an assembly line. Now, think about a car assembly line for just a moment. In order to make a car on an assembly line, you have to have all the parts, right? You have to have all the parts. And if you don't have all the parts, you might have something that looks like a car, but doesn't run very well. Yeah? You following me so far? Okay. Well, if a virus gets into a cell and destroys the cell for using those parts to make the viral pieces in the assembly line, what if zeolite comes along and starts pulling out the pieces? It destroys the assembly line. So the viruses that are being made kind of look like the car, but don't run very well. And that's the mechanism behind zeolite and viruses. Zeolite will pick up the pieces that are floating around. They'll get trapped in the cage so that the virus assembly line doesn't work anymore. So you get the car looking like a car, but it doesn't run. Make sense?
that makes sense to me.
Okay,
Absolutely.
good. And that's across the board. I bet you could name a whole bunch of viruses that are out in our world causing all kinds of problems right now.
Well, there's hundreds of them.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Does it matter what kind of virus it is in order for this to work? No, because the virus is attacking your cells. It's using your cells to create more viruses.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works.
Mm-hmm. And I do remember, Rosemary, multiple times researching whether or not zeolite, doing actual research into whether or not zeolite impedes medications or vitamins or minerals or anything like that. And what I kept coming up with, no matter how hard I researched, is the only thing it would impact would be, like you said, a medication like a chemo that has it's using heavy metals to
Right.
do whatever it's doing to you,
Right.
which chemotherapy, my personal feeling, and I'm not telling people don't go get chemo chemotherapy, but I think it's poison and it kills people, because I've seen so many people who went through chemo and then they didn't die of the actual cancer. They died because their body was destroyed by the chemo,
Yeah.
or they wound up getting pneumonia. The head of the school district, who I was friends with the, what do you call that? The district, whatever, the administrator, the head lady that was the head of the school district where my kids went. I worked with her a lot because I was working at the Chamber of Commerce and I was friends with her, and she had Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, and they nuked her with chemotherapy, and she didn't pass away from the cancer. She wound up getting some kind of horrible pneumonia because they destroyed her whole immune system,
Right.
and she died of the horrible pneumonia.
So that's why we want an arsenal. You know, what's in your arsenal? And people ask me, well, what do you do for this disease? What do you do for that disease? Well, you know, what do you do in this situation? Really, you don't change anything about your arsenal, because they all have a different mechanism. They're going to pull out the heavy metals. They're going to disrupt the viral mechanism that creates more viruses. They're going to kill the parasites. They're going to kill the germs, put it anywhere you need it. They're going to, again, in your arsenal, you're going to support your immune system, support your cardiac health, support the mechanisms that, oh, you're going to love this, the cloaking device that cancer cells have on them that keep them hidden from the immune system. This signals your immune system to recognize the difference between cells that belong and cells that don't belong. Makes those cloaking device things go away. So it will target the right kind of cell. So my arsenal doesn't change. Now I see a question in the chat regarding viruses. What's the protocol? I think I just gave you the protocol. You don't change the protocol because the mechanism, the biological mechanism for viruses is the same. You've got millions of viral particles coming at you, attacking your cells, wanting to use your cells as a factory. And so what you do is you use the mechanism that will take up all the pieces so that the viruses cannot be made. It doesn't matter what the name of the virus is. It doesn't matter if it's Sam or Arthur or Judy. It doesn't matter. The name doesn't matter. The mechanism is the same. It's all biological. But the way you would use it is small amounts, more often. Why more often? How long does it take for a viral particle to replicate? Or a virus to inject its genetic material into a cell, destroy the cell, and make new viruses? How long does it take? Boy, not long. Not long. So you want to interrupt that as often as possible.
Wow, we lost a lot of people. We originally had like 12 or something when we first started, and now we're down to 5 people. We dropped off a bunch, but I'm going to send out the recording to everybody afterwards. Well, I'm not going to send the actual recording because I can't email the actual recording. It's too big of a file. What I will do for everybody is I'm going to send the link to my Google, what do you call it? Google Drive, and it'll have like a password or whatever. It'll have a link, and then they go and then they can just get the video right off the Google Drive and download it to their own computer.
Well, let me answer the last question, and then I have something to say in summary, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the last question was, how does this help for the issues we're having in regards to cancers coming out after COVID? Really, the arsenal.
Good question.
The arsenal doesn't change.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You take the 3 things every day.
Yeah, you have to get after the toxins. You have to kill the bad stuff. You have to support the immune system. You have to, choose.
And the graphene oxide that's in the COVID-19 vaccines, they put graphene oxide. They also have aluminum and mercury in there, and you got to get that out with the zeolite.
Take it out. So you can change what you're doing there. You would just keep going small amounts more often. What I wanted to end with is this. First of all, gratitude for you being here and taking the time. I know that we've been talking a long
A
time.
long time. I know we need to get off. It's been an hour and a half.
The best way to buy this is not as a customer.
Mhm.
You can see that one bottle is only going to go so far. I recommend getting a wholesale account, buying one of their activation packages, $2.99, $4.99, or $7.99, and getting your own wholesale account as soon as possible. Don't wait. When you get your wholesale account, you get me answering your questions personally. Right, Grace? I did a personal call with your 2 daughters here in the States. And Brodeen, right? I'm working with you as well. So get an account, a wholesale account, and you get to work with me personally. And if you need help getting that account set up, I'm happy to help you do that. We'll figure out the right account for you. 1 bottle, 2 bottles, not going to do it. I'm grateful that you are trying it, but what does trying it really mean? Trying it means 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I've been taking this for 17 years. I've never
I've
stopped.
been taking it 11 or 12 years and I won't ever stop either. No way.
Well, I don't want to take any more time for anybody. Just thank you so much.
Oh, Amanda said she has a wholesale account. How does she get into contact with you?
Amanda, are you Amanda Reese?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Rosemary at secondnaturehealing.com.
Yep. That's her email,
I know who
Rosemary.
you are. I'll send you an email. I'll find.
Yeah. Also, when I send out the link to the video for everybody, it'll also include your email address to email you with any questions.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
and this is shareable. That's the last thing. This is shareable. Who do you know?
Yep.
Use a little help. A family member, a friend, a relative, a dog, a cat, a neighbor. Who do you know who could use some help and has been praying for the answer? You know, I like to say to all my students that you are somebody's angel. Somebody has been praying for you to show up in their lives. And so I am grateful to you for being here. And I hope that I have touched your heart in some way that you find helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Grace said, hopefully Avini is working on how to ship things out to other countries.